Good afternoon, dear audience. I'm the last one, not so easy job. I'm Mari-Liis Tikerberg, and right now I'm a PhD student and scientist at University of Tartu. But I have been, not worked as youth worker and teacher. As you know, once a youth worker, always a youth worker. And being a teacher, it's sometimes more like a chronic diagnosis, not a profession, right? So all topics linked with youth and education are very important for me, and I'm so happy to be here today. My speech today will focus on active youth generally, not so much on the political context. And I will mainly introduce you the results of a study which was carried out in Estonia as a part of international project constructing active citizenship with European youth, or shortly Catch EU. Spoiler alert, nothing new. You have heard all of it today. But I'm the last one, you will remember it. I will introduce the project very briefly. The project involves 8 countries in Europe. The main purpose of the project is to identify the factors influencing the different forms of youth active engagement in Europe. Those factors are located at different levels, like psychological, developmental, macrosocial, and contextual. There are 10 work packages in the project, and my role in this project is to work with work package 6, schools and education. To interpret the results correctly, it is very important to mention that it was a qualitative study, which means that we can't generalize those results to all schools, students, and teachers, and all results are relevant only with those respondents. As you see, 8 focus groups and 17 interviews with teachers. So, the main results based on those interviews. Students' activity and motivation to participate in societal activities depends on personality, but also on their native language and community. If the depending on personal interest was a typical aspect in the studies in other countries, then differences between students with different native language, in our context, differences between Estonian-speaking and Russian-speaking students were brought only in Estonia. It's something special here. The second point, and actually most of the next points are common generally in other countries and in Estonian study as well. Active students are usually occupied with different activities on different levels. I'm quite sure we all know some classmates who were active everywhere, or we were or we are those students, right? According to teachers' opinion, our students are not highly interested in politics, maybe only 10 to 25%, but they are often misunderstood by schoolmates. About a week ago, I read an opinion that politicians should not visit schools, and Argo was talking about it a bit more. But at the same time, the study brought out that schools are the best environments for youngsters to communicate and act with other people, especially with mates in their age. In addition to schools, they have same possibilities in youth organizations, in different projects, in hobby classes, or in work. But if we can presume that those other possibilities are mostly used by more active students, then schools have a chance to bring activities to less active, I don't want to say passive, less active students. And I'm happy to say that according to students' and teachers' opinions, our schools have many formal and informal activities to support students' activity. Mostly they are empowering them as active citizens, but at the same time, some students told that sometimes they feel like schools are pushing them into passive role, especially in younger grades. Students told that it happens that schools don't ask their opinion, or when they ask, they don't take into account. According to students' opinion, when they want to be more active or be heard, the biggest problems are their young age, lack of information or courage, and in political context, the problem is politicians' low reputation. As the project's aim was mostly mapping the situation, our recommendations were formulated during a seminar we had in cooperation with Accept Project's team. The seminar took place in the end of April this year and involved delegates from schools, youth organizations, and different communities. Speaking about raising active citizens in educational context, our participants found out that one of the most important aspects is to support teachers, school leaders, and actually all school workers. We should give them skills, understandings, and knowledges. They are people who are working with little people every day. They need skills. Then, we are not talking only about school teachers. We should also support teachers in kindergartens because they can support kids' self-sufficiency and involve them to affordable decisions in early age. But schools and kindergartens shouldn't be alone. We were sure that by developing cooperation between schools, businesses, local government, and community, we can extend many possibilities to our youth. To all adults, teachers, parents, youth workers, friends, I would remind to avoid pseudo-involvement. Don't ask youngsters' opinion if you are not going to think about it, at least, or you are not ready to discuss. How to do that, and how to make easier to follow those recommendations? By acting and by sharing good practices on every aspect, by sharing inspiration. And again, I guess it's the most important aspect. It's crucial to emphasize the key is involving youngsters on every level, in every sector of society. They are our present and our future. We all have heard, we all have been youngsters, or we are youngsters. And sadly, we use very often sentences like, you are too young. When you grow old, one day you will. One day you have to. For the next generations, let's make the one day be today.